Good morning and welcome to our Sports Chat morning show here on Morning Express, and at a time when the whole of the country is mourning the passing on of a great leader, a man who helped the whole country in fighting for the Kenyan independence, and he went ahead to influence the lives of so many other Kenyans, countrywide, and even those who are not even in this country. They have so much to remember about who President Daniel Arap Moi was at that time. And now that we are mourning his passing, I think we've taken this opportunity also to bring to you the people who interacted with Mzee Daniel Arap Moi when he was the president, in terms of actually developing the sport in the country. And as you can see, I've brought to you Sam Nyamweya, a close family friend of the Moi family, and also he was a sports administrator, and he still is. Sam Nyamweya was the Secretary General of Football Kenya Federation at the time the President Moi was in power at the time. Karibu sana, Sam.
Hassan, thank you very much.
Of course, I have Milton Nyakundi. He covered the presidential activities, especially sports activities, while he was working for the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, and is here, a senior journalist at in this time. Mr. Nyamweya, maybe your quick thoughts about the kind of mood we are in now with the passing of former President Daniel Arap Moi.
Well, Robin, we are in a very sad mood because we have lost an icon, a great man, a great leader, a person I knew very closely, and who changed the shape of Kenyan politics. So it's a very sad moment for us.
Yeah. I know you were his political student, and of course you served in various capacities in sports administration. You must have interacted with him almost on a daily basis doing that. It must be really a painful time for you.
Yeah, that is true. I had actually known him earlier, before I even joined sports administration, because I knew him right from 1986-87, because his children were my friends, Jonathan, Gideon, and the rest. So when I came into football administration in 1996, I was even closer, because he's actually the one who encouraged me and supported me to take over, me and Peter Kenneth, to take over football administration in this country. So I've known him for a very long time. Yes.
Milton Nyakundi, you came into the media at the tail end, I think, of his administration. Maybe you got 2 or 3 months?
I think maybe my best experience dealing with the president or interacting with his legacy as the head of state was perhaps not as a journalist, because I didn't have quite much time. But overall, even during our school time and as a student of journalism then, I was able to, follow what he did. But even when I got into journalism and after I joined KBC, I got even closer, interacted with people who had worked with him, the likes of James Mwambai, Kimaru Kipchilat, people who we interacted very closely, and they could share how it was like working for President Moi, and even they could draw parallels, what it was like working under Kibaki and working under Moi. And therefore, I have that kind of connection to how Moi worked. But I think as a sports journalist, it would be unfair to say that Moi, you did not have to work for Moi or under Moi to know that he had a great spirit and great passion for sports, going by what he did. I know a lot has been said about that. I mean, without Moi's legacy for Stadia, we would not be talking about Nyayo or Moi International Sports Center Kasarani. And I mean, it goes on to indict some of those who have come after him, because we are still crying about sports infrastructure. And it would be bad, it would be a dire situation if we didn't have Moi, Kasarani, and Nyayo Stadium.
You were very close with him. I saw some of the pictures you took with him when Harambee Stars was always playing, even the Kenya Premier League matches, he would attend. What was he like? What was he saying about the need to develop sport in this country?
Well, Mzee was very passionate about sports, not only football, for that matter. And whenever I was with him, he used to ask me, how are the players? He actually knew the Harambee Stars players by names, almost all of them. So how is one? So where does he come from? Who are the parents? And Mzee knew people all over the country. Yes. So he was very excited, especially when I'm inviting him to come and watch the international matches. He actually attended most all the international matches, as far as I can remember when I was in the office, when he's in the country. He also liked attending Moi Golden Cup,
Actually, he's the one who started that Moi Golden Cup.
He's the one who started Moi Golden Cup. And he was very passionate about it. So he loved. And I think, in my view, when he wanted to get out of a state of stress,
yes,
he really was very, very excited when he goes to Kasarani or Nyayo Stadium. So it made him, lower down the stress. Running a country is not easy, Robin.
Yeah, because
it's very complicated.
There was this meet the people tours and all that, receiving, diplomats at State House and all that. Where did he get the time, to come to the stadium?
Well, he had time. He had time. He could get time. He could always ask me, when do you have the next match? What are you? Which matches are you playing? African Cup of Nations, World Cup qualifier matches. Robin, you remember, I don't know whether you were in school, when we played Nigeria in 1990.
I was in college. I was
97. We played Nigeria, and we had 70,000 people at Kasarani. And Mzee came, the whole place was electrified completely.
I remember.
And he was very happy. He gave the boys motivation. In fact, I think if he didn't come, perhaps we wouldn't have drawn with Nigeria. So he was passionate. He loved.
If you could just see those some of those images there, the president at the time meeting Muhammad Ali, the former boxing world champion. He visited Kenya. It's just interesting that he could just go out of his way just to meet the sportsmen. Is it because of the fact we are told that he used to play football?
Yeah, apparently he played football from his time in the 50s, and he was a permanent feature with the Bunge FC when it started. Remember, he was a member of parliament representing Baringo Central. But I think you've got to... I was reading some of the sentiments by the people who are close to him. They say Moi was athletic. Some of them do not know. Some of them do not know how he got the time to do some of these things, or indeed where he did it. But I think he was very athletic. He loved sports, and like Sam has alluded to, he was passionate, and he would always try to make time to unwind and relieve some of the stress that comes with leading the country. But, for example, what I think we have lacked in, and I'm saying this with all due respect, is the same passion from his successors in terms of even going out to support sports in the manner that he did. That is number one. Number two, but also having the courage and the bold character to say no to certain things when they feel it is not possible. And you have to give it up to him. In the 1980 Olympics, when Muhammad Ali and when the whole world was, boycotting the Olympics in
Moscow.
protest,
The Moscow Olympics,
Moi actually did the brave act and said, we are not going to participate in the Olympics. 16 years later, in 1996, Kenya had the opportunity to host the Africa Cup of Nations.
He was the Secretary General at the time. Were you?
I was just coming in.
Okay. And Moi said, yes, we've got the opportunity to do this, but that was the time that the Bretton Woods and the IMF and other Western institutions had, severed relations with Kenya, and economically it was not viable. Moi wrote to Issa Hayatou and said, it is not possible for us to be able to do this. Unlike the shame we had 2 years ago.
He was courageous enough to say.
To say it. Look at what we had just 2 years ago when, unfortunately, I know some feels bad about what happened to Chan 2018, when until the last minute, our government and the powers that be at the federation could not have the courage to face it and tell the world that we are not able until it has to be taken away from us. I think those are some of the lessons that I believe we could draw from Moi as
in one of my articles, Mr. Nyamoya, I drew one of my arguments was that the president helped develop sports, especially in the 80s, where they developed a policy that all parastatals would actually be at liberty to employ sportsmen and women so that they can develop that talent. And we could see at the time when we had a strong Kekoso games, you would have a KQ, you could also have a poster and all that doing development. I will want you to talk about that, his passion for that, and directing that parastatals to do that. But then, because I want you to spare that thought, so that when we come back, you try to take us through all that as I hand it back to Michael Gitonga.